On a moonlit night in May 1943, the people of Germany's Ruhr Valley woke to a sound they had never heard before, not sirens, not bomb blasts, but the roar of a wall of water, tens of millions of tons, tearing through fields, villages, and factories. Hours earlier, 19 British bombers had slipped and low over the countryside on a mission most experts said was impossible. Their target, the great dams that powered Hitler's war machine, their weapon, a secret invention that looked more like a steel drum than a bomb, but would turn those dams into weapons against Germany itself. 2. Hitler's untouchable dams. By 1943, the Ruhr was the beating heart of German industry. Steel, coal, and munitions all flowed from this region. 3 massive dams held it together, the Möhne, the Eder, and the Sorpe. They didn't just provide water. They powered turbines, regulated canals, and fed the factories that armed Hitler's armies. British planners knew that if those dams fell, they could cripple production and paralyze transport, at least for a time, but there was a problem. These were towering walls of reinforced concrete, guarded by flak guns, shielded by geography, and protected in the water by anti-torpedo nets. High-altitude bombing barely scratched them. Many in the Royal Air Force, they were untouchable. 3. Barnes Wallis and the bouncing bomb. One man refused to accept that answer. Barnes Wallis wasn't a bomber pilot or a general. He was an engineer, quiet, meticulous, obsessed with numbers. He understood that to break a dam, you had to put a massive explosive charge directly against its wall, underwater, where the pressure could fracture the concrete from within. But how do you get a bomb past torpedo nets and defensive fire, and make it stop right at the dam? Wallis's answer sounded like something out of a children's game. You make the bomb bounce. His design was a spinning cylinder that would be dropped at low altitude, at a precise speed, so it skipped across the surface like a stone, hopped over the nets, struck the dam, then sank while still backspinning, hugging the wall before detonating at a carefully calculated depth. On paper, it looked elegant. In practice, it would demand flying at night, over water, at a height one mistake away from disaster. 4. Building 617 Squadron and training for the raid. To deliver Wallis's weapon, the RAF created a new unit, 617 Squadron. Its pilots and crews were handpicked from across Bomber Command, experienced, aggressive, and willing to fly in ways heavy bombers were never meant to fly. They trained over British lakes and reservoirs, roaring just above the surface at night, learning to hold a constant speed and altitude with terrifying precision. There were no computers to help them. Altitude was set using 2 angled spotlights under the fuselage. When their beams met in a figure 8 on the water, the aircraft was at the right height. Distance to the dam would be judged using a simple triangular sight. Every part of the attack had to be flown almost perfectly, or the bomb would skip too high, or dive too soon, and the crew would be flying straight into a wall of concrete and flak for nothing. By mid-May 1943, the squadron was as ready as training could make them. The mission was given a name, Operation Chastise. 5. Night of the raid, 16–17 May 1943. On the evening of May 16, 19 Lancasters lifted off from RAF Scampton in 3 waves and headed toward Germany. They flew low, sometimes so low they skimmed over treetops, church spires, and power lines. The danger was immediate and constant. Some aircraft struck obstacles in the dark. Others were shredded by flak before they even reached the first dam, but the survivors pressed on. Just after midnight, Guy Gibson led the first attack run on the Möhne Dam. His Lancaster hurtled down the black mirror of the reservoir, boxed in by steep valley walls, with searchlights stabbing at the sky and tracer fire arcing up to meet them. At the exact height and distance, his bomb aimer released the spinning cylinder. It bounced, once, twice, then struck the dam and vanished beneath the surface. 4 more crews made that same lethal run. On the final attack, the Möhne Dam finally cracked out, a jagged gap open, and a wall of water roared through, ripping away roads, bridges, houses, and everything in its path. Later, at the Eder Dam, more crews repeated the same dance of precision and terror, eventually tearing it open as well. The Sorpe, built as an earth-filled dam, absorbed the punishment. Damaged, but not destroyed, it survived the night. 6. Cost. Controversy. At dawn, reconnaissance photos confirmed what the crews had only glimpsed in the dark: great gaps torn in the Möhne and Eder dams, and a trail of devastation snaking through the valleys below. Railway lines and bridges were gone. Factories and power stations lay under muddy, swirling water. The mission had worked, but the cost was brutal. Of the 133 men who took off that night, 53 did not return, and they were not the only casualties. In the flooded valleys, thousands of civilians were killed, German workers, foreign laborers, and prisoners caught in the sudden wave. Historians still debate how much the raid truly slowed German industry. Repairs were faster than British planners had hoped, and the Ruhr's factories were not permanently crippled. Yet the psychological impact was undeniable. Germany's untouchable targets were suddenly, visibly vulnerable. 617 Squadron, the Dam Busters, and Barnes Wallis's strange, skipping bomb entered wartime legend. It remains a story of extraordinary courage and innovation, and a reminder that even the most brilliant operation can leave a long shadow of human suffering far from the front lines. If you stayed with this story to the end, thank you for spending part of your day here on Cyber Theo. History is full of moments like this, half remembered, half forgotten, and still echoing into the present. If this video gave you something to think about, please like the video. Tell me in the comments what details stood out to you the most, and subscribe to Cyber Theo so you don't miss our next story. Ghost Plane, Lady Be Good. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep asking what the past is still hiding.